The frost came on a Tuesday, not gradually, not the slow seasonal creep people always picture when they imagine the end. One Tuesday, the sky above Selrath City turned white, not cloud white, bone white, and the temperature dropped 40 degrees in 6 hours. By Wednesday morning, the evacuation convoys were gone. Joran Vale watched the last one from the window of his basement apartment. 4 military-grade transport trucks, triple insulated, packed with the city's registered Awakeners and their designated essentials. Commander Sila Drast stood at the rear vehicle's door in a thermal coat that cost more than his rent, clipboard in hand, running down her list. He wasn't on it. He'd been on the wait list, the civilian wait list, the one they'd assembled 6 months ago, ranked by awakening tier, SSS first, SSS. ABC registered civilians with a declared essential skill. Joran Vale had no awakening. The city scanner had tried 3 times. 3 times the readout had said, dormant, no detectable affinity, recommended classification, non-essential. His girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, as of 48 hours ago, had a B-rank thermal affinity. Her name was Lys Karm. She hadn't looked at him when she'd packed her things. She'd looked at the scanner readout on the kitchen counter and said, "I'm sorry. I don't have room for someone the world doesn't need." She'd pulled her bag off their shared shelf and walked up the stairs. He'd heard her laugh at something in the courtyard. Commander Drast's truck pulled away at 6:04 a.m. The city went quiet, not silent. The wind was already loud enough to rattle his single-pane window in its frame. But the human noise stopped. No cars, no voices, no boots on pavement of just Joran Vale, one basement room, a space heater running off a generator with a crack in its casing, and 3 days of fuel left. And outside, the end of everything. He sat on the floor. He wasn't sure why he sat on the floor instead of the bed. It just seemed right, closer to the ground, closer to the only thing still solid. He sat there until the heater's coil clicked orange, and then he noticed it. A faint pulse of light in the corner of the room, not from any lamp or screen, coming from the wall itself, just below the waterline stain. A hexagonal outline, faint gold, flickering. He pressed his hand against it. System, threshold condition met catalyst. Complete abandonment. 0 allies, 0 resources declared, 0 registered affinity ambient temp, -19 degrees Celsius and falling dormant affinity unlocked. Spatial architect. Threshold class subclassification. Vault builder. Expansion. Current domain. 18 SQR mem. Basement unit. Selrath District 7 available functions. Expand, seal, generate, store note. This class activates only at 0. You had nothing. That was the requirement. He read it twice. He read it a 3rd time. Outside, something, a streetlight or a flagpole, cracked under ice load and fell. He pressed expand. The wall moved like a breath being let go, and the room was suddenly 30 square meters, then wider. Concrete gave way to vault shell, a composite material the system rated to -120 degrees Celsius. External exposure. The single-pane window sealed itself from the inside in 3 layers, with dead air insulation automated packed between them. The space heater clicked off. The generator stopped entirely, in its place rising through the baseboards in a smooth, even wave. Warmth. Real warmth. The kind that reaches the bones instead of just the skin. Generate. Active. Thermal core installed. Domain temp locked at +21 degrees Celsius regardless of. External store. Pantry well initializing. Filling. The far wall split open like a seam unzipping. Behind it, shelves. 12 deep. Floor to ceiling. Filling. Not with luxury, with solid practical abundance. Canned goods in neat rows. Sealed grains. Water tanks labeled and dated. Medical supplies in a cabinet at eye level. Blankets in compression bags. Fuel cells. Batteries. Pantry well. 72-hour regeneration cycle. Current store. Sufficient for 1 occupant. 6 months. He cooked rice. He sat at a table the system materialized from the wall and ate slowly. He took his time. Outside, the temperature hit -31 degrees Celsius. He pressed expand again. By day 3, the domain had swallowed the entire basement level of the building. 8 square meters of vault shell, thermal core warmth, sealed ventilation cycling clean air through atmospheric purifiers, grade 3. The walls were smooth, the floors were dry, pantry well, sufficient for 1 occupant, 4 years, or 40 occupants, 36 months. He found the seal function on day 4. He stood at the main basement door, listened to the wind above, and thought about someone the world doesn't need. He pressed seal. The door locked from the inside with a deadbolt the system rated at WEF 200 kilograms pull force, non-negotiable. He sat with that for a while. Not because he was angry, or not only because he was angry, because it felt right to mark the moment, to acknowledge that a door had closed somewhere. not just a physical one, and the person he'd been on the other side of it was already a different version of himself. Then he explored Subminus. Workshop gave him a fabrication bench, thermal suits, repair equipment, insulated gear. He made 30 suits and hung them on a rail in a side room without knowing why. Something in him just kept making them. Medical Bay gave him a full diagnostics room and a sealed pharmaceutical cabinet with inventory. The system kept topped through, the pantry well. Cycle. Library gave him a reading terminal that had archived every file from Selrath City's public servers before they went dark. He pulled Commander Drast's convoy route. The authorized vehicles, the registered passengers, the 40-kilometer projected range. He read it once, carefully. He folded the map and put it away in a drawer he didn't open again for weeks. He pressed expand. By day 14, the domain had taken the second and third floors. The supply well recalculated. Pantry well, sufficient for 200 occupants. 20 months beacon was still in the menu. A low-power thermal signature broadcast, toggled off by default. The system described it simply. Broadcast a heat signature readable by any scanner within 4 kilometers. Toggle to invite or remain hidden. He stared at that for a long moment. Then he left it off. He expanded instead. By day 21 it pinged. Beacon. Off. External scanner sweep detected. Source. 2.1 kilometers northeast condition. Compromised thermal gear. External temp. -53. He stood at the panel for a long moment. He turned the beacon on. The first 3 survivors arrived 4 hours later. A man, a woman, a teenage boy. All in gear that had started failing. Running on the last of a portable heater that died somewhere in the stairwell. They came into warmth and stopped moving. Just stood there, feeling it on their faces. He gave them food. He showed them the beds, the medical bay, the supply storage, the bathrooms, real, functional plumbing. The system had seen to that. He didn't make speeches. He didn't explain what he was or how any of it worked. He just showed them where things were and let the warmth speak for itself. The woman asked if he was awakened. He said yes. She asked what rank. He showed her the system panel. She looked at it for a moment. Then she said, "It doesn't have a number." "No," he said. She looked at the shelves, at the smooth vault shell walls and the lit corridors, and the ceiling that used to be a cramped sub-basement. She said, "There are more people out there." "I know," he said. "The beacon's on now." He said, "If you can build, build. If you can't, learn. Everything I know, I'll teach you." They came in groups after that. Stragglers and holdouts. People who'd survived in shops and offices, burning furniture to stay alive. A family of 5 who'd been living in a sealed subway car. The kids bundled in everything they owned. By day 30, the domain count read, occupants, 147, 1140 Zem, Selrath District 6-7 integrated pantry well, sufficient for 147 occupants, 8 months, regenerating thermal core, 12 active, external temp -61 degrees Celsius, stable. He called it the vault. The people living in it called it the same. By day 40, the domain had consumed 5 connected buildings. Warm corridors linking them. Supply lines running through shared walls. The broadcast function pinging a signal readable on any emergency band scanner within 40 kilometers. The first convoy response came on day 47. A military runner, one of Drast's adjutants, a young officer named Fen, arrived on foot, alone, in a thermal suit cracking at the seams. He came down the stairwell into warmth and sat down on the floor and didn't move for 3 minutes. Joran gave him tea, waited. "Commander Drast's convoy," the adjutant finally said. "We made it 40 kilometers before the vehicles started failing. Thermal systems weren't rated for what the temperature became. We lost the last vehicle 11 days ago." He paused. "We've been in a staging camp. 83 people. Commander Drast, He stopped himself. "Other survivors." "How many can walk?" Joran said. 40, maybe. The rest need medical." Joran went to the workshop and pulled 30 thermal suits off the rail. He set them on the table between them. "Take these back. Get anyone who can walk into a suit and moving. Be at the north entrance by tomorrow morning. I'll have the medical bay cleared and ready." The adjutant stared at the suits. "Why are you helping?" Joran thought about that. He said, "Because I built something big enough for more than one person, and I'd be wasting it." He didn't say. "Because I built it alone, in the cold, on the floor, with nothing, after every single one of you decided I wasn't worth a spot on your list." He didn't need to. Commander Drast arrived the next morning at the head of 83 people in cracking thermal gear. She came down the stairwell last. She stopped at the bottom and felt the warmth, looked at the warm, dry corridors, the supply shelves. The 147 people already living here going about their work, and didn't speak for a moment. She found Joran at the main table with an expansion blueprint spread in front of him. She sat across from him without being invited, put her hands flat on the table. I made the wrong call, she said. The scanner listed you non-essential. I trusted the scanner. I know, he said. If I'd known what you had, you didn't. And I didn't either. The system required that I have nothing. It required that everyone leave. That was the activation condition. He looked at her steadily. It couldn't have gone any other way. She was quiet for a moment. Then, what do you need from me? 40 of your people can work. I need builders, people who can follow system instructions and learn fast. Someone who knows the city grid. Anyone with a medical background in the bay this afternoon. He pushed the blueprint across the table. And I need the eastern expansion cleared by day 55. There are 2 more survivor pockets on the emergency band. I want to reach them. She looked at the blueprint for a long time. You have awakened people here. B ranks, A ranks. I know what I am, he said. She pulled the blueprint toward her and started reading. Lycarm found him on day 52. She came to the workshop doorway the same she'd stood in their apartment doorway 3 years ago, the first time they'd met. A little uncertain, waiting to see if she'd be welcome. He was fabricating a thermal relay. He didn't stop. I was wrong, she said. I know, he said. I didn't know what you were, what you had. Nobody did. The scanner didn't. I didn't. If I'd stayed, you'd have been trapped in a basement with a cracked generator and a man who didn't know yet what he was capable of. He set the relay down and looked at her. Not coldly, clearly. You would have left anyway. The only difference is the sequence. She stood there a moment, then. Is there anything I can do? I have B-rank thermal. The supply team needs someone to help regulate the eastern wing before the expansion seals. He considered that. Report to the supply coordinator, he said. She'll show you where they need help. He picked up the relay and went back to work. By day 60, the vault covered 12 buildings. Occupants, 714, 89,000 square mem. Districts 6, 7, and 8 integrated pantry well. Sufficient for 714 occupants. Indefinite, regenerating at surplus. He reached a 3rd survivor pocket on day 71, an underground parking structure. 88 survivors. 14 of them children who had never seen a room above minus 30 degrees Celsius stay warm. He expanded the vault shell around the structure's foundation in 11 hours. He gave them all the same thing he'd given everyone else. Warmth, food, a place to be. On day 80, the emergency broadcast went silent, not because there was no one left, because there was no one left in range who wasn't already inside. Broadcast sent, no response detected, 40 km radius clear. He sat with that for a while. Then he found a function he hadn't touched yet, remote node. Plant a domain seed at distance, range, 200 kilometers required. Architect level 15, current, 14. He went to the workshop and built for 3 days straight, thermal relays, supply caches, expansion kits for a node that would need infrastructure before it could grow on its own. He watched the level counter tick toward 15. On day 84, it hit. Architect level 15 remote node, unlock new function available. Network, link multiple nodes, shared supply generation, coordinated expansion, range 1,000 kilometers, node-to-node occupants, 1847. The temperature was minus 79 degrees Celsius. The sky was still bone white. Inside the vault, 1,847 people were warm and fed and alive. He pressed network. He started building the next one.